Hey, welcome to Monkey Business Off-Road. I'm Nick, aka Dad, and this week we're not really doing a review. I've been in the garage doing some work on a big project I've been working on for the last couple months that actually goes along with the Bronco's tailgate. So I guess in a way I am working on the Bronco a little bit, but yeah, found an issue a couple months ago when I did our last slow opening tailgate video. And I've been working on something to try to fix that or to make the Bronco better. So yeah, that'll be upcoming. We've talked about it a little bit before, but I'm really close to being done with it. But since then, been messing around with powder coating. And maybe some of you have thought about powder coating. Maybe you thought it just too tough. I don't know how to do it. It's really expensive to get into. Really, I've been playing around with it now for about a week or so, and I thought maybe after my week of kind of playing around with it, give you the tips that I've learned from some of the other people out there on YouTube on what to do. So let me show you what I've been doing, and maybe you might want to start powder coating as well. All right, so the first thing is obviously you need something to powder coat. So I've been working a lot with basically some stainless steel, some angled stainless steel, some angled steel. So it's pretty easy stuff to get a hold of. You can go to your local hardware store, whether for us in the Midwest, Menards, Lowe's, Home Depot. A lot of them carry just bare steel. Super easy to do anything with. I've been using either our drill press over here or just my hand drill to make holes or shape it, things like that. Using a Sawzall or a jigsaw with a metal cutting blade, depending on the material too. You need to get the right blade for it. I was using a metal blade in my jigsaw and it wasn't quite up to the task of cutting some of the steel that I had, so be sure that you're getting the right blade for the application. Other thing though, prep is huge. Everything I've been watching on YouTube, people have it, different ideas of how to prep. I have found what has worked for me so far, and I've gotten, I think, good results out of it. So first we'll start with prep and what you'll need for that, and then we'll get into some of the pieces of equipment you're going to need as well. So let me show you first what you'll be using to prep your steel or what you're going to be powder coating. All right, to start off with, you need to clean the steel, the metal that you're going to be powder coating, and I start off with Super Clean. I got this at Harbor Freight, along with basically a detailing brush, whatever you want to call it. This comes in a pack of 3. I think you've got the nylon brush here. You've also got a brass and steel brush. I've just been using the nylon one, and you want to clean it real good. Just douse it with this. You do not want this to dry on the metal though. So once you're done cleaning it with the brush and the Super Clean, you need to rinse it off right away. Not like you have to go running, but don't let Super Clean dry on the metal. So as soon as you're done scrubbing it down, take it, rinse it off, and then we'll get to the next step. All right, so you've cleaned your steel with that Super Clean. Now the next step I've been doing is using this from POR 15. It's a metal prep. You can get it on Amazon. You can get it in this. This is a smaller bottle. This is only 32 ounces. It's not a whole lot. You can go on Amazon and get it in a much larger size, which I've actually ordered. And what I did is I've soaked my metal in it. So I got a container, plastic container, dumped this whole bottle in there, and kind of had to swish it around because it wasn't enough to really cover the metal in my little plastic tub that I had. So swished it around and kept flipping the metal, and I'd let it sit in there and soak for about 20 minutes. Once I got done soaking though, took it and rinsed it off, and then you can also prep the metal with letting it dry. Let me show you how I was doing that. So when I was drying the metal, there's a couple things I did. First off, I used my air compressor, which is one piece of equipment you will need, whether it's a smaller pancake style or we have a 2 horsepower. I think it's around a 20-gallon tank on ours. It's not huge, but you'll need one of that. And I would use a blowgun and blow off the part after I rinsed it with the Super Clean. And then once I got done rinsing off the POR metal prep, I would again kind of blow it off, and then we'd heat treat it. which is, I mean, maybe not the right terminology, but I would put it in our little oven. Let me show you, because you will need an oven. So here is our oven. We got a little Black & Decker. The reason I got this is because it would fit most of the little things I was doing. It does have a temperature up to 450 degrees. It's got a timer in that. I just liked it, and it was inexpensive. I got it on Amazon, I think, for 75 or 80 bucks. You'll also need a spool of wire. So this is 304 stainless steel. A lot of people use it for jewelry and that, but I basically use it to make little hooks out of, because it conducts electricity really well. And I can hang my part either directly onto the rack that they give you with this Black & Decker, or we also kind of made our own little spray booth. I'll show you that here. All right, so here's my little spray booth. I just basically used the box that the Black & Decker oven came in and found a piece of metal shelving that we used. I believe this was from one of our old houses that was a shelving unit for in the closet. So just use that so I could hang parts from. And then the powder coating system, I went to Harbor Freight and picked up the Central Machinery powder coating system. Pretty simple, on-off switch. You've got your canister that holds the powder. It actually has basically what takes the moisture out of the air here with a filter. You also have on this gun a pressure regulator, so you can actually turn it up and down as needed if you don't have one on your compressor. And then it's got its ground as well, which is basically just a little clip here, not anything special. And then you have, it's on the box here, this little pedal is what activates the ground, so the powder gets attracted then to the metal. Our air compressor there. But like I said, I prep my metal. You've got some in there already, by heating it up a little bit, letting it heat, and then kind of cooling off a little bit before we hang it to actually powder coat it. Okay, also, before you start spraying any powder, don't forget you need some gloves. You don't want to be touching your metal with bare hands, because your oils will get on there from your hands, and then that'll mess up the powder coat adhesion. Don't forget you also need a mask or a respirator. You can obviously see, maybe it comes through here, you can see the red powder. I was actually spraying some red. We're going to do blue today, and then some eye protection. Just have some easy little safety glasses here. You don't want to get powder in that in your eye, so you definitely need this stuff as well. I'm just letting the powder heat up a little bit. Another thing too, make sure that your electrical can handle the load, because the first time I did this, it came out where I had powder on it, but it didn't really cover that well on certain areas. Well, I found out I had tripped a breaker in our basement because I had the compressor running along with the powder coating machine, and then also the little toaster oven. Yeah, I didn't even know it until I looked over and saw the little red light on the powder coating machine wasn't even lit on. So again, make sure I'm having to do some things differently here. I had to get the air compressor going to get pressure built up. It doesn't take a lot to run the powder coating gun, because it takes, I think it says anywhere in the manual, from 10 to 30 PSI, so not a lot there. So I run that first, I unplug it, I get everything kind of warming up in my oven and get the oven kind of going, and then I'll hang it. We'll plug in the powder coating machine and we'll start laying some powder here. Well, in the process of getting started here, the canister that actually takes out a little moisture. I heard some air seeping out around it, so I was tightening down the fitting. It was loose and it broke. So we're going to take that off and we're going to spin on another connector. We just won't use that. See how this turns out. Just pulled it out of the oven, so it's just warm to the touch, and we'll just start laying down some powder right now. So see how this goes. Right, so first off, your ground is super important, so make sure that the alligator clip is clean and that what you're connecting to is good metal, which this little stainless steel should be great. That gives you good connection. Make sure your pedal then is in a good spot so you can get to that easily and it's not going to get tangled up by anything else. You don't want to be tripping over this as you're trying to spray, which looks like right now my pedal's kind of underneath my hose. Now that I got everything untangled here and everything's easy to get to, I'll get the power turned on here. We got a good ground, and we'll start putting down some powder. All right, now that we got it coated here, I put a kind of a thick layer on it. We're actually gonna do this a second time. I'm gonna put it in the oven to cure for, not cure actually, just kind of get really kind of glossy looking and get that powder to melt down. But we don't want it to cure, we just want to get it kind of liquidy, and then we'll pull it back out and we're gonna spray it again. All right, so we've placed it in the oven here. It's going. We'll just leave it in there just for a little bit until it starts to get glossy. There's really not a time limit on it. It's just all by what you see. Another thing that does come in handy though for curing things in here, something you'll want to get is a little infrared thermometer. Again, I got this off of Amazon because it got here in 2 days. You can't shoot it through the glass. It actually tells you not to do that, but you'll open it up and just want to make sure, because once the metal gets to the curing temperature that the company tells you to, this is a prismatic powder. This is supposed to bake 400 degrees for 10 minutes to cure. That 10 minutes starts once that metal is 400 degrees or really close to it. So that's why we're just gonna watch it. And as soon as it starts getting a little glossy looking and kind of liquidy as far as the powder goes, then we're gonna pull it out. All right, you can kind of see how it started off kind of a black look to it. Now we're getting, you can see that blue coming through now, and it's starting to get a little bit shiny, so I think we'll take it out here and we'll apply a second coat. Now, if you're doing this and you're doing 2 coats, don't forget to use something to pull it out. I'm not, not saying that none of you guys know that it's gonna be super hot, but I'm using a couple pairs of pliers here just to pull it back out and hang it back on my rack, and then we'll spray again. All right, now that it's out, let's spray her again here. We'll let it cool just a little bit before we start adding to it, but looking pretty good so far. Looks like we're sitting around 230 degrees. We'll let it cool down just a little bit more here before we start applying another coat. All right, there's our second coat on it. Now we'll throw it back in the oven, and now we'll let it cure the whole time at 400 degrees for 10 minutes. All right, so we've got it in the oven now. This will be the last time we do it. I'm not putting a clear coat on it. If you're gonna put a clear coat on it, again, you'd just run it until that layer you just put on kind of got gelatinous, some gel look to it, a little bit glossy from what it is, kind of a dull looking color right now. And then you'd put your clear on it, and then you'd put it back in the oven and do what the clear says, whether it's 375 for 10 or 15 minutes, whatever it may be, you'll cure it out then. But now we're gonna go the whole 10 minutes. Once the metal reaches 400 degrees, we'll start our clock. So let's finish this powder coat project up. Well, it's been 10 minutes. So just open it up, and now we'll just let it air dry basically and just finish up cooling down. And then we'll pull it out, show you what the finished project looks like. And then we'll also show you a few other things we did recently. I'll show you the very first time I used this, the second time that I used it that came out, I thought a lot better, and did a 2-coat on it. And then kind of go over what I really think about the powder coating system and, you know, getting started with doing powder coating. So stick around. All right, so pulled it out of the oven, and it actually looks pretty good, but I do have some little fish eyes in there. I don't know if you can see them. You might be able to see a few of them in there. I think that is because I cleaned this last night before we did the video today. So when I took it out of the oven, I touched it with my bare hand. Again, that's why prep is everything. So I probably prepped it really well, and then when I touch it with my hand to get it out of the oven instead of having a glove on, that probably messed it up, at least a little bit. I mean, I've probably got, probably 10 little fish eyes on one side there and a couple more on the inside, but not that big of a deal. But that is why you always wear gloves, because I do have this piece here, this red piece that I did. This was my second attempt at powder coating, and I don't have any fish eyes. Well, I've got one as I look at it in the light, kind of down here area. But other than that, I don't have any. So prep is huge. I would definitely recommend putting on gloves first, and then get your cleaners out, your degreasers, your brush. Never take your gloves off until you're done prepping it, and then dry it off in your oven. Get it kind of up to temp, and then coat it. I would not, like I did, let it sit overnight and go, okay, it's clean, it should be just fine. No, it's probably not. So always use clean material as soon as you get done and cleaned and metal prepped like we do. Powder coat it and bake it, and you'll probably have great results like I did with the second piece I did, this all red one. Now I do have the very first piece we did is this guy here, and you can kind of see kind of that graying area. I think that's where we lost, and here's some more on this side. You can kind of see you can kind of see the metal through the bottom. I think that's where we lost our breaker at our house, and the machine wasn't even on at that point, so I was just shooting powder, and it was, maybe there's a little bit of a charge left, but not enough to hold it there. So make sure your grounds are good. Make sure you wear gloves all the time to make sure that there's no oils getting on this, because any imperfection in the metal will show up in the end, obviously. And I am not a professional, period. I get a lot of my information like you watching this video. So prep is key. Wearing gloves, degreaser, using that metal prep from POR I think is huge as well. And then after that, make sure you don't touch it with your bare hands. Review on the gun. Let's talk about that real quick. Powder gun from Harbor Freight is a great entry level. I think, again, it was like around 75, 80 bucks. It does have cheap parts. Obviously, you saw in the video where that filter that they have to pull out, I believe it's moisture from that, broke. I over tightened it. It's a plastic piece. I thought it was actually metal threaded, but it's not. So I can get a new one of those, not a big deal. But I think what we'll do next is we'll get one from Eastwood. They've got a dual volt, which we'll review next on our channel and see what that is. But if for entry level, I think it's a great gun. It shoots the powder out just like it's supposed to, and it adheres well. Just make sure your grounds are good and you don't pop a fuse. Other than that, we'll post links down below for that Black & Decker oven we're using, and pretty much anything else in here. We are using prismatic powders. They got some lines that really match up with our Bronco, an antimatter blue. They've got a laser blue and an antimatter navy that look pretty close, and that's what we've been spraying. So we'll check it out, but we appreciate you watching. Hopefully this has been informative and a good little review of that powder coat machine from Harbor Freight. And don't be afraid to try it. It seems like, I'm not good at automotive painting. Well, this is a little bit easier, but prep is key. So just remember that. But thanks for watching. Have a blessed day.